Let's talk about some upset bets that you like for week one. Tattoo talk is great. Let's talk a little football. We start with the very first game. The Super Bowl champion Rams at plus 2.5 versus the Super Bowl favorite Bills. Take us through this one.
Yeah, I mean, so this is not like a huge upset because we're talking about this defending Super Bowl champion, but they are underdogs at home. And, you know, if you follow the narrative over the course of the offseason, right, Matthew Stafford with the elbow discomfort, people are sort of down on the Rams. They think it was maybe a one-hit wonder, et cetera, et cetera. And the Bills are probably the best team in football. At least they have the best roster in football. But there's one key distinction for me with the Buffalo Bills here, aside from being, you know, on the road in week one against the defending Super Bowl champion, and it's that they're changing offensive coordinators. They're going from Brian Daboll to Ken Dorsey. And it probably won't matter like a huge amount over the course of, you know, a larger sample size, but it's at least going to be a little rough starting out for Buffalo, I think. And I understand why Buffalo's favored. I get it. Again, I think they're probably the best roster in football. But I think this is a great spot for the Rams and Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford to really remind people that not only did they win the Super Bowl last year, but they did it in Matthew Stafford's first season. Like, there's a really good chance that if he's healthy with Allen Robinson added, he's been dominating the red zone during training camp and during the offseason. There's a decent chance that Matthew Stafford has an MVP caliber season and really cements that Hall of Fame legacy, as Pete Prisco likes to remind.
Well, and the first game could also be the last game of the season, right? The way things are looking between the two, wouldn't that be something? All right, next up, let's talk about Tom Brady, who still absent from the Bucs, dealing with a personal issue, but he and the Bucs looking to dominate the NFC South once again. But you say they won't dominate the Cowboys in Week 1.
By the way, have you seen this conspiracy theory about what Tom Brady's actually doing? And it's probably not true. There's somebody on Reddit who came up with a theory that because Tom Brady signed this huge deal with Fox, and you know he agreed to be a brand ambassador, not just an announcer, that Tom Brady is currently doing The Masked Singer right now. That's what he's doing, according to this conspiracy theory. He is away from training camp, filming The Masked Singer. Is this likely? No, of course not. It is very unlikely. In fact, it's probably not true. But I am going to hold on to the hope that Tom Brady is skipping training camp for 9 days to film The Masked Singer. At any rate, I think the Cowboys are in an okay spot here. The Dallas is, people are really down on Dallas, and I'm down on Dallas. You know, we talked about them. I ripped Wilson making the bold prediction they would miss the playoffs. Like, I don't think it's that bold that the Cowboys would miss the playoffs. But Dak Prescott is still really, really good, and CeeDee Lamb is poised for a monster year this season. Dalton Schultz has signed his tender, and he's in camp. And you know, that defense with Micah Parsons and Dan Quinn pulling the strings was a top 10 unit last year, and it could end up being the same again. I think it's more likely that the defense regresses. But we're talking about like a Sunday night game, and Dallas at home against a team with Tom Brady, who's now lost. He's had 2 centers get injured. They're replacing, I think, 4 or 5 or 3 or 5 offensive linemen. Chris Godwin's still banged up. There's a lot about Tampa Bay that is concerning, maybe even more so than Dallas. So I'll take the Cowboys as a possible upset spot here.
I mean, it's basically a pick 'em at 1.5 there, what we're looking at as of this point in time. But, I mean, as you mentioned, Zeke's healthy. Tony Pollard's probably one of the best RB2s in the game right now. So, I mean, that's why the line is so close. But you certainly like the Cowboys there in the plus spot. One of our games on CBS to kick off the season is the Patriots at the Dolphins in an AFC East tussle right away. Tua and the Dolphins, 2.5-point favorites. But Tua, I mean, he can't stop throwing the ball to the other team in practice, the other team being his own defense. So you're going with the visitors here, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I get look, the Tua hype. I understand Tyreek Hill, what he's doing. Like, you know, you're new to a job. You get hired away by a new company. You show up, you pump up you pump up your new job. You don't want to be like, you want to be a good teammate, and Tyreek Hill is doing that. And all the Tua hype from the Dolphins beat writers, and there's a lot of those guys who tend to be very enthusiastic about the team. It feels like with that specific beat. And so all this Tua hype has been a little bit over the top. And now all of a sudden, as you point out, Jeremy, he's throwing picks left and right. I think the Dolphins quarterbacks had 6 interceptions. The defense is probably pretty good, but it probably ain't that good. Now, the Patriots offense, extremely concerning. Anything that you let Matt Patricia and Joe Judge run is going to be concerning, no matter if it's an offense or like a muffler shop or like a Jiffy Lube, whatever it is. Like, you let Matt Patricia and Joe Judge run it, I'm going to be concerned with what's going to happen there. But Bill Belichick is going up against Tua, and we've seen Belichick really dominate young quarterbacks. I don't think Tua, just because of how he's progressed with his injury situation and sort of coming back from that hip, and he's finally starting to get that deep ball, we think. I just just don't think Tua is going to be, and Mike McDaniel, who's a great coach, but I don't know that these guys are going to be a mental matchup for Bill Belichick and that defense quite yet. I like the Pats as dogs in week 1. I mean, everybody's burying New England this offseason. So give me the Pats as road dogs against the Dolphins, despite that terrible record that we're showing on the screen.
And 2 former Bama quarterbacks going head-to-head. And Javon Holland, the pride of Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, says he's got 6 picks against Tua in training camp alone. All right, let's go to Green Bay, and quarterback Aaron Rodgers has made it known his receivers need to be better. Week 1 is going to be a very interesting one as they take on the Vikings, who have no wide receiver issues whatsoever. The line is +2 to the purple and gold. How do you like this one?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is sort of like the Cowboys-Bucks game, right? Like, I think Green Bay is a better team. I think Green Bay is probably likely to win, but you're getting points at home in a division rivalry game. With an offense. Kevin O'Connell, you look at, and this is a bit of a projection, obviously, because he's coming from the McVay system. But we've seen guys come from the McVay system and win immediately. Let's just look at Matt LaFleur, who went 13-3 his first 2 seasons. I mean, he's been unreal as a head coach. The loss of Davante Adams, I think, is a bit of a speed bump that they'll have to overcome. I'm of the opinion that Green Bay's wide receiver 1 will be Aaron Jones, their running back. I think that Aaron Rodgers hinted at it recently. We're going to put both running backs on the field. I think Jones is a great bet for Offensive Player of the Year. If you can find that market out there, it should be a pretty long number. But when you look at this Minnesota team, I was always a big fan of Mike Zimmer. But he definitely held the offense back. And Kevin O'Connell's going to let Kirk Cousins cook, which I can't believe is the thing I'm saying in 2022. Dalvin Cook is going to be more involved in the receiving game. He's completely healthy. Justin Jefferson could be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. And I like the idea that the Vikings come out hot on offense, have enough health on defense right now to sort of tamper down a Green Bay offense that will be adjusting to life after Davante Adams. I think it's a possible upset spot here for Minnesota.
Yeah, and they're saying that A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones could be 50% in terms of their share of the ball, certainly in terms of receptions going into the season. All right, the Jaguars, another team that are expected to be better. I mean, there's only one direction after what happened under that Urban Meyer dumpster fire last year. Opening at the Commanders, 3.5-point dogs. I mean, I like this one. I like this one a lot, Will.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. Like, I mean, I gave producer Noah like a list of several and say, pick your favorite 5. This is, I just think the Jaguars, or the Jaguars, excuse me, if you want to quote John Breach in his horrific mispronunciation. I think the Jaguars are just going to win the game, like not fairly easily. There's a couple factors here. One, Carson Wentz, PTSD, man. Week 18. Like, how about the NFL? Shout out to the NFL schedule makers for putting Carson Wentz. He loses. He basically gets fired because he loses the Jaguars in Week 18 last year, and then Week 1 he has to play the Jaguars again. And then we see the clips of Trevor Lawrence. Like, I really think that people are making a mistake in their evaluation of Trevor Lawrence and how they're handling what kind of player he's going to be moving forward, because they're treating it as if last year was a foretelling of what kind of player Trevor Lawrence will be. As you point out, Jeremy, I mean, look, Urban Meyer was, and this is not even, and I'm prone to hyperbole, this is not hyperbole. Urban Meyer is the worst hire in the history of professional football. Like, that was the absolute biggest dumpster fire we've ever seen from a head coaching hire in the NFL. And like, I watched and closely covered like 2 years of Hugh Jackson. So, I mean, when I say that, I'm not even joking. Like, he got fired before the season ended, and he's a multiple national championship winner from college. I mean, it was horrendous. And Doug Peterson is the polar opposite. He is so steady, so calm, so professional, and he's just gonna bring this not Urban Meyer vibe to the Jaguars, and they're going to be a lot better because of it. I think Trevor Lawrence has a big season. I think people will be shocked. He's the guy to buy low on in the NFL, in my opinion. And as a result, I think the Jaguars go in there, take care of business, and they knock off Ron Rivera and Carson Wentz.
Well, and as Jamie Eisenberg hinted today on Fantasy Football Today, he's picking Travis Etienne to be one of the breakout players this season.
Sure.
Obviously, Jaguars, as we mentioned, one direction to go. You CBS Sports NFL writer Will Brinson discussing some of the early upsets to watch as we inch closer to the 2022 NFL season. And for more from Will Brinson, John Breach, the aforementioned, freshly tatted Ryan Wilson, check out the Pick Six podcast, the latest episode, which dropped this week as the fellas offering some of their annual bold predictions and then grading each other's boldness. Check out the Pick Six podcast wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.